Hey guys, Gary, grateful recovering alcoholic and drug addict. Today's video I want to do on what is an alcoholic or a drug addict. Some people may not know. I believe people doing like fentanyl and stuff like that and doing fentanyl every day and buying drugs off the street every day, you're living in hell right now. You're living in a hell on earth. I've been there, and it's hell. And you have to pray to heaven in order to get out of hell. So there's absolutely a good and evil on this planet. And if you're living shackled by addiction, you're living in hell. So I read, this book has been in my truck, and my truck has been at the mechanic for like a month. I read this book, Alcoholics Anonymous. I love this book. It's got little nuggets in it. I just want to read a couple real quick. Anybody, I just want to say this. Anybody who is an alcoholic or a drug addict or somebody struggling with addiction, it could be addiction to food, it could be addiction to jacking off, it could be addiction to, internet porn, shopping, smoking, you name it. Anything that you're killing yourself with or destroying your life with, this 12 steps work. Just replace the word alcohol in the 12 steps, replace that with whatever your addiction is, and work the 12 steps. Go into a 12-step program. Find it online. Google. Do a Google search. Crystal meth anonymous meetings, narcotics anonymous meetings, cocaine anonymous meetings, opiates anonymous, narcotics anonymous works for me. You name it. Overeaters Anonymous, Smokers Anonymous. There's SLAA, Sex and Love Addiction Anonymous. That's if you're having sexual issues. Okay, it says, and this is not an easy thing to face. If you're thinking, am I an alcoholic? Am I an addict? To be doomed an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not easy alternatives to face. Doesn't that sound funny? Should I die an alcoholic death or live on a spiritual basis? Which one should I do? It's not easy if you're pondering that, then you're probably alcoholic or an addict. I pondered it because it's fun, right? I'm having fun killing myself. The other thing, tells us where to find God in here. And it never tells us what God is supposed to look like, what he's supposed to do, what his image is supposed to look like to you, what your concept is supposed to be. It's whatever you want your concept to be. So if you believe in God, you've got a head start. If not, you've got some soul searching to do. But here's where we find God, and it tells us right in the book, and here's where I've always found him. Okay? It says sometimes we had to search fearlessly. But he was there. He was as much a fact as we were. We found that great reality in capital letters. We found the great reality deep down within us. In the last analysis, it is only there he may be found. It is so with us. And I love that one, man. That's on page 55, middle of the paragraph. So when they talk about living on a spiritual basis, it's just living your life filtered through the 12 steps. So you work the 12 steps every day. You don't have to work all 12 of them. But the way I do it, I get up in the morning and I do the first 3 steps. Step 1, I'm powerless over alcohol and drugs, and my life is unmanageable. Step 2, come to believe there's a power greater than myself that could restore me to sanity. Step 3, made a decision. So every morning I make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand him. Now, I don't do it every morning because some mornings, I'll hit snooze a couple times and then I'm late, and then I'm off to work and I'm probably doing damage, probably pissing people off or in a grumpy mood. And I notice the difference. If I give myself that amount of time, wake up a little bit early, give myself that amount of time, enough time to do my prayers in the morning, get a good workout in, and then off to Starbucks and off to work. So I get up early. I get up at between 3:30 and 4 in the morning, and I have not been doing as good as I was, but next week I'm shooting for all 5 days. So I've only been doing 2 and 3 days a week, and I'm gaining weight. So because I eat because I need to be doing this on my food addiction. Once you're sober, you can conquer anything, you guys. What is an alcoholic or an addict? I got to tell you, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just an average Joe. I'm a glass guy. I'm in construction. I'm a project manager. And I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. I'm a father. But I have to remind myself, above everything else, I'm an alcoholic and my life is unmanageable, and I got to go to God in those next 2 steps. That way I could be a father and a grandfather and a brother and a son and a cousin and an uncle, a friend, an employee. So alcoholism is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and I got to tell you, it's very patient. It's Satan. Okay, it is evil. It is destructive, and it takes lives, and it ruins families. I speak from great experience. I lost my son a year and 2 months ago to an accidental fentanyl overdose, a son that was put together just like me. If we were sitting in the same room, people knew we were father and son. Not just because of our looks, but we had the same attitude, same bad attitude, right? So he was a good kid, and I miss him every day, especially today for some reason. I've been thinking a lot about him. But so alcoholism is the only disease, right? And it's deemed a disease by the Medical Society and Medical Association. Alcoholism is the only disease where you have to diagnose yourself. A doctor can diagnose you all day long, but until you diagnose yourself, you're a goner. Okay? And to die an alcoholic death, there's so many ways to die an alcoholic death. You could kill somebody and just die away in prison. You can never go to jail and just drink yourself into, like pancreatitis and all kinds of illnesses, cancer, liver cancer. If you've ever watched anybody die from alcohol poisoning, from cirrhosis of the liver, it's a painful death. They turn yellow, their eyes turn yellow, they weigh like 90 pounds, 80 pounds, and their whole family's devastated. And it's evil. It's just pure evil. And when you're in the grips of it, it takes a spiritual experience to get out of it. It takes an act of God to get out of active addiction. People don't just go, you know what? I think I'm done drinking. I think I'm done drinking today, and then they just walk away and life is jolly. We are mentally different and bodily different than the non-alcoholic, non-drug addict. We are mentally different. And when I say that, it comes out in a lot of different ways. We're insecure. We're not all of these things. I'm not saying everybody is, but I could just speak from my own experience. Insecure, temperamental. When something's not going my way, I force it to happen. A lot of us are very big overachievers. When we set our mind to something, right? We're going to get that thing that we set our mind to, no matter who gets in our path or what gets in our way. And we build companies. We're of every trade, doctors, lawyers, construction workers, priests, nuns, you name it, homeless, you name it, man. Alcoholics and drug addicts are scattered in through and woven in through society. And everybody knows an alcoholic and an addict in their life. And it seems like in today's world, everybody knows somebody who's died from fentanyl. It's just an epidemic going on, but I'm not going to get off on that topic. So alcoholism, we're bodily and mentally different, insecure, jealous, controlling. And when we remove, say we're all these things, and we drink to actually, it settles that stuff. Let me back up for a second. A lot of us are also survivors of abuse, like childhood abuse, or suffered some kind of childhood trauma or trauma in our life. And we turn to alcohol and drugs for comfort. And it works for a while. And then it gets to be the problem. You know, it becomes our solution. And then our solution turns, we don't know when that happens. You know, we can't really pinpoint exactly when it happens, but it flips and it becomes, our solution becomes our problem. So, being bodily and mentally different, so we have an allergy for alcohol, doesn't mean we can't put it down, like I'm going to have a drink, right? And then once I start, some alcoholics, once they start, they're off to the races. They can't put it down. Addicts with cocaine, once they do a line, they're gone. They're gone for days and days until they run out of money. That's how I was. I was like that with drugs. And sometimes people, you know, they're binge drinkers, you know, or closet drinkers. Only you can diagnose yourself. Everybody around you could say, yeah, you're an alcoholic, but you're not going to get well until you come to terms with your illness. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm an addict. And yeah, I have the disease of addiction. It's not your fault, man, if you got this thing that I have. It's not our fault. But once we realize we have it, if we don't take care of it, then things kind of are our fault. Because there's a program, there's a lot of different programs out there. The one I speak of is Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, everything anonymous, right? Whatever you could think of. It's the 12 steps. And once you realize those work, it is up to you to take care of yourself and remain abstinent, get sober. But sobriety is, let me back up a second. So we're bodily and mentally different. So we've got that head, it's paranoid, it's jealous, possessive, insecure, emotional, temperamental, grandiose, depressed. And so we've got all these emotional things going on. And when we remove our drug of choice, when we remove drugs and alcohol, right, when we take that away from us, we're still left with all those things. They may not be as great and as exaggerated, but we're still left with all of those things. And how do we get through life with having all that shit, all that emotional shit going on up here? How do we get through that and not fucking drink? That's where the 12 steps come into play. That's where this comes into play. The program. And I can only speak from the experience of the program, you know, because that's all I've ever used to get and stay sober. Everybody can get sober. It's remaining sober that's a challenge. And I've had my challenges. I went through a rehab in like 1990 and got sober through the rehab and then never went to any meetings, and I remained sober for 7 years. So I was what you would call a dry drunk. And a dry drunk, not doing the steps or not going to meetings, not talking about what's going on inside of me or even outside in my world, and not recovering from my illness, that's our chemotherapy, man, is going to meetings and working 12 steps. And in not doing that for 7 years, I had, like I've said on videos before, I've had all kinds of twitches, and I'd hold my breath and blink my eyes a lot and twitch my neck, and I'd be in an intense business situation, be fucking blinking and holding my breath and all kinds of shit. And I don't do that stuff today. I don't live my life like that anymore. I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable in my own skin 95% of the time. Okay? And that is a true miracle, because I am a fucking whack job up here. And as soon as it starts getting crazy, I start talking about it with my friends and that do what I do, the 12 steps, that work the program, that read this book. This is my Bible. I have a Bible, but this is the one I'm in more than the Bible. And God's all in there. God of your understanding. Not a Jehovah's Witness, not Christian, not Jewish. It's of your understanding is in here. One of your understanding. And that's good enough to work for this program. And if you've got a better understanding of God, you got a better shot of staying sober. As long as you use that God and work those 12 steps. So we're also, so when we get sober, or when we remove the drugs and alcohol, we got to do something to keep this thing at bay. And that's what we do, because we're nuts. And if you can't admit that you're a little cuckoo, you probably got some more drinking to do and more drugging to do. We're all a little nuts. And sometimes we're all a lot of nuts. And it's okay. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's an illness. Bodily different, if we put it in, we don't know how much we're going to intake. Whatever your drug of choice is, as alcohol, cocaine, whenever you do it, if you don't know, if you say, you know what, I'm going to stop after 2 lines, or I'm stop after 2 drinks, and then you get fucking strung out, man. You're fucking grinding your cheese, licking your lips like a lizard, or you get so shit-faced you're Xerox copying your ass and balls at the Christmas party on the Xerox machine. You may be alcoholic. You may be an addict. If you say, you know what, I'm not going to drink tonight, or I'm not going to drink for a month, and you get through 3 days, you're probably an alcoholic. Your wife will tell you you're fucking drunk, right? But until you realize you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, your success rate goes to 0 till you can figure out you've got the problem. It's not her nagging that's the problem. It's you're drinking or drugging that's the problem. You could say, oh yeah, she's a bitch. She's a bitch. Well, yeah, your wife's a bitch because you're fucking drunk. You're a fucking drug addict. You're spending all the money on drugs and booze. You're, not coming home at night. It's funny, we want to blame everyone else. So, I don't know if any of this makes sense to you guys, and 18 minutes and 19 minutes into it, hopefully it does. I want to do a little fentanyl thing, because fentanyl killed my son. Fentanyl is the #1 leading cause of death from ages 16 to 45 in the United States. Not any other country, just the United States. Because we have a wide open border policy, and fentanyl is pouring in through our southern border. The fentanyl, 98% of it is made in communist China, and it gets shipped to the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, where they mix it up in buckets and bathtubs, and they don't have scientists in a lab doing this shit. It's like in the back of a barn. It's a bunch of fucking idiots mixing this shit up, pouring in fentanyl, and then pressing pills to make it look like Xanax, codeine, Vicodin, ecstasy. They're even putting it in cocaine, heroin, marijuana, crystal meth. They're gonna They put it in there so they want to hook you and reel you in. So then they got you buying drugs on the streets. And if you're buying drugs on the streets, it's not a matter of if you're going to die. If you're buying drugs on the streets, it's a matter of when. When are you going to take that lethal dose and leave your family with the horror that my family went through when we lost my son? So be careful, you guys. If you know somebody who's hooked on fentanyl, try to get them help. We are very tough customers to love when we're in the grips of our illness. We are almost impossible to love. We are manipulative, conniving thieves. We lie, we cheat, we steal, and very tough to love. So you got to wait till they're down and out. Wait till they're down and out and depressed, and then try to get them some help. You know, and if you're the one, if you're the addict, if you're the alcoholic, when you're down and out and depressed, reach out for help. Go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've said it many times before, the bravest, most courageous thing you could possibly do that will save your life and your family's life, it will bring you into the light, is if you sit in a meeting, right? Go to a meeting, find one near your house, raise your hand, say, I'm such and such and I need help. I'm fucked right now. You watch the people that come out and help you, and listen to those people because they've been right where you're at. My name's Gary. I'm an alcoholic. Subscribe. I doubt you guys are still listening. Subscribe to my channel. Let's do sobriety together.